Have you ever looked at yourself in the mirror while in a relationship and felt a strange distance? Like the person staring back is someone you used to know? It never happens in one dramatic moment. It begins quietly. You skip a night with friends because they wanted you to stay in. You stop playing the music you love because they said it was annoying. You change the way you dress, the way you laugh, the way you argue, or stop arguing at all. Little by little, your world shrinks to the size of one person. And then one day, you catch yourself waiting for a text to decide how you're allowed to feel. Calm if they reply, anxious if they don't, empty if they pull away. You realize your mood has become a shadow following theirs, and your own voice has grown so soft you can barely hear it anymore. We often call this being in love. Movies call it devotion, songs call it romance, but psychology has another name for it: self-abandonment, enmeshment, the slow, invisible vanishing of the self inside a relationship. If any of this sounds familiar, you're not broken, you're not weak, you're living out a pattern that began long before this person ever walked into your life. Today, we're going to talk about how that pattern forms, why love can feel like losing yourself, and most importantly, how to find your way back without turning your heart into a battlefield. Because love was never meant to make you disappear, it was meant to meet you. Losing yourself in love doesn't look like a movie scene where everything suddenly collapses. It looks ordinary, quiet, almost reasonable. In a healthy relationship, two people remain two people. They meet like two solid islands connected by a bridge, close enough to visit, separate enough to breathe. Psychologists call this interdependence. You share a life, but you don't surrender your own. Self-loss begins when the bridge slowly turns into the only ground you're allowed to stand on. It shows up in small everyday ways. You hesitate before speaking because you're calculating how they might react. You stop seeing certain friends because it's just easier. Your hobbies gather dust while their interests fill the calendar. You say, "We don't like that," even though you secretly do. You apologize for feelings you never needed to apologize for. None of this feels dramatic. It feels like compromise, like love, like being easy to live with. But real compromise is a conversation between two voices. Self-loss is when one voice quietly leaves the room. The most confusing part is that you often believe you're being supportive. You tell yourself, "I'm just adapting, I'm just caring, I'm just trying to keep the peace." Yet inside something tightens. A subtle grief grows, grief for the version of you that used to take up space without permission. Love is meant to expand your life, not narrow it to a hallway where you walk on tiptoe. When a relationship requires you to shrink in order to belong, it is no longer a meeting of hearts. It is a negotiation with your identity. And identity should never be the price of connection. The way we disappear in love rarely begins with love itself. It begins much earlier, long before first dates, first kisses, first heartbreaks. It begins in the rooms where we learned what it meant to be safe. Most people who lose themselves in relationships carry an anxious attachment pattern. As children, love wasn't steady like the sun. It was unpredictable like weather, sometimes warm, sometimes distant. You learn to watch faces carefully, to read the emotional temperature of the room, to adjust yourself so connection wouldn't vanish. Without realizing it, you made a quiet decision. Love must be earned. Then there is the good child story. Maybe you were praised for being easy, quiet, helpful, never asking for too much. Needs felt dangerous, anger felt forbidden. You learned that the quickest way to keep love close was to take up less space. Self-sacrifice became your first language. By adulthood, this survival strategy wears the costume of romance. You don't call it fear, you call it devotion. You don't call it self-erasure, you call it loyalty. For others, there were sharper wounds, emotional neglect, parents who were overwhelmed, criticism, that felt like a storm you had to outrun. Some carry traces of complex trauma, a nervous system always prepared for abandonment. In that state, a relationship can feel less like a choice and more like oxygen. So when someone finally chooses you, the old child inside whispers, "Don't ruin this, don't be difficult, don't be too much." And you begin shaping yourself around another person the way water shapes itself around a glass. None of this means you're weak. It means you adapted brilliantly to the world you were given. The problem is that strategies that kept you safe at 7 can make you vanish at 27. Understanding this is not about blaming parents or the past. It is about seeing the invisible map you've been following, so you can finally draw a new one. Part of the reason love can swallow us whole isn't poetic, it's chemical. When we fall for someone, the brain releases dopamine, the same substance behind addictions and jackpots. Everything about them feels brighter, louder, more meaningful. Oxytocin, the bonding hormone, whispers that closeness equals safety. Cortisol, the stress hormone, flares whenever we sense distance. Your nervous system begins to treat this person not as a choice, but as survival. This is why losing yourself can feel logical even when it's hurting you. The body mistakes attachment for oxygen. Psychologists call the darker version of this trauma bonding, when moments of warmth are mixed with uncertainty, keeping you hooked like a song that never resolves. You don't chase the person, you chase the relief they occasionally provide. And then the digital age pours gasoline on the fire. Relationships now live on screens. A single delayed text can hijack your entire day. You reread messages like sacred scripture, searching for hidden meanings. Social media sells the myth of effortless soulmates, while real love, messy, slow, human, starts to look like failure. Comparison becomes a silent third partner. Other couples smiling in perfect squares, advice videos promising never chase, algorithms rewarding drama over stability. We begin performing relationships instead of living them. Add modern pressures, student debt, expensive cities, shared leases, and attachment becomes tangled with economics. Leaving can feel impossible not only emotionally, but practically. So when you bend yourself to fit, it isn't just weakness. It's biology meeting culture, fear meeting Wi-Fi, an ancient nervous system trying to survive a very new world. Understanding this doesn't excuse self-erasure, but it explains why it's so easy to fall into. Losing yourself doesn't arrive with a warning label, it moves like water through small cracks, and before you notice, the room is flooded. Most people pass through 4 quiet stages. Stage 1, the idealization. At the beginning, it feels like magic. You think, finally, someone who sees me. You want to impress them, so you bend a little. You cancel a plan here, change a preference there. It feels voluntary, even romantic. Exit sign. If excitement requires you to hide parts of yourself, the story is already being edited. Stage 2, the self-erasure. Now the changes become habits. You stop wearing what you love because they once made a comment. You visit your family less because it's easier. You say, "We don't like spicy food," though your tongue still remembers the flavour. You call it compromise, but compromise is mutual. This is surrender in slow motion. Exit sign. Notice every sentence where I disappears. Stage 3, the dependency. Your emotional weather begins to follow theirs. A delayed reply feels like thunder. You rehearse messages, delete honesty, study their face like a map you're afraid to misread. Your intuition, the quiet compass inside, goes silent. Exit sign. When peace requires permission, you are no longer choosing love, you are negotiating safety. Stage 4, the void. One morning you feel tired in a way sleep can't fix. You've given so much yet feel less seen than ever. Ironically, the person they fell for, the alive, opinionated you, has faded and attraction fades with it. Shadows are hard to hold. Exit sign. Exhaustion without explanation is often grief for the self. These stages don't make you foolish. They reveal how powerfully humans crave connection. But connection that costs your identity is a loan with interest you can never repay. The moment you recognize the stage you're in, the spell begins to crack. Awareness is the first crack of light under a locked door, and behind that door, your original voice is still waiting. If losing yourself feels so painful, why don't you simply leave? Because leaving touches a fear older than logic. The anxious brain doesn't hear break up, it hears abandonment. To the nervous system, being alone can feel like standing outside in winter without a coat. So you choose familiar pain over the unknown cold. There is also the quiet math of the heart, the sunk cost fallacy. You've invested years, dreams, versions of yourself. Walking away feels like admitting bankruptcy of the soul. It's easier to believe that one more sacrifice will finally pay off. And sometimes the relationship teaches you to doubt your own reality. Subtle comments. You're too sensitive. I was just joking. No one else would put up with you. Begin to rewrite your inner dictionary. This is gaslighting, and it makes staying feel safer than trusting your own eyes. But not every difficult relationship is toxic. Real love can include conflict, seasons of distance, moments of misunderstanding. The difference lies in respect. In a healthy bond, boundaries are heard even when they're inconvenient. In an unhealthy one, boundaries are treated as betrayal. We stay because we confuse intensity with intimacy, because occasional warmth feels like proof, because hope is a powerful anesthetic. Yet the cost grows quietly. Anxiety that lives in your chest, dreams you stop mentioning, a smaller and smaller life. The cruel paradox is this: you try to disappear to keep the relationship, and the relationship slowly disappears the real you. Understanding why you stay is not about judgment. It's about compassion for the part of you that is afraid and strong enough to learn a new way. Knowing you've lost yourself is one thing. Speaking yourself back into existence is another. Boundaries are not walls, they are door frames. They show where you end and another person begins. And the first truth is simple. A boundary doesn't need a courtroom speech. It only needs a sentence. Start with small, ordinary moments. Instead of, "I'm sorry, I know you wanted me to come, but maybe if it's okay, I might stay home." Try, "I need a quiet night tonight. I'll see you tomorrow." Instead of explaining your feelings like evidence, "I care about us, and I also need one evening a week for myself." If they push back, "I'm not pulling away, I'm taking care of me so I can show up better for us." Notice the structure. Clear need, calm tone, no apology for existing. Practice 3 anchors. 1. Name the need. I need rest/space/honesty. 2. State the action. I'm going to leave at 9. 3. Hold the line. Silence is allowed after a boundary. Your nervous system will protest at first. It will whisper that you're selfish, dramatic, difficult. That voice is old training, not truth. Another tool, the 24-hour pause. When asked for something that feels heavy, say, "Let me think about that and get back to you tomorrow." Time is oxygen for boundaries. And remember, no is a complete sentence. You don't owe a thesis for protecting your life. Healthy love will adjust around your edges. Unhealthy love will try to sand them down. Let the reaction teach you more than any argument could. Boundaries are not the end of connection. They are the beginning of honest connection, the kind where you finally get to arrive as yourself. At some point, every heart asks the same quiet question. Do I stay or do I go? There isn't a universal answer, but there is a compass. First, the non-negotiables. If there is physical violence, threats, financial control, or patterns of emotional abuse, leaving is not betrayal, it is protection. Love cannot live where safety is absent. No amount of patience repairs a place that refuses to be safe. If those lines are not crossed, look at one crucial signal: how your boundaries are treated. In a healthy relationship, Boundaries are inconvenient but respected. In an unhealthy one, they are punished through silence, guilt, ridicule, or rage. Ask 3 questions. 1. Is there effort, not just promises? 2. Can we talk about pain without it becoming a war? 3. Do I feel more like myself or less over time? Staying makes sense only when 2 people are willing to grow, not when one person is asked to shrink. And remember, leaving doesn't require hatred. Sometimes it's simply choosing not to disappear any further. If you are unsure, borrow time instead of forcing certainty. Seek a therapist, a support group, a trusted friend who can reflect your reality back to you. Decisions made in loneliness often sound louder than they truly are. The goal isn't to save the relationship at any cost. The goal is to save the life inside you. Finding yourself again is not a single decision, it is a slow homecoming. Begin with a simple separation, me and we. Write 2 lists. On one side, everything that belongs to the relationship, shared routines, compromises, memories. On the other, the pieces that belong only to you, music you love, opinions you hide, dreams you postponed. This is the archaeology of the self. Then invite joy back like an old friend. Choose one thing you abandoned, a morning run, painting, late calls with a cousin, the playlist that used to feel like oxygen. And do it this week, not to prove anything, just to remember the texture of being you. Your nervous system may resist. Silence can feel loud after years of adapting. Sit with that discomfort for 5 minutes a day. Breathe. Let the body relearn that you're safe inside your own company. Practice speaking in I again. I prefer, I feel, I need, I choose. At first, these sentences may tremble. Let them. There is also an inner child waiting at the door. Talk to that younger version who learned to disappear. Tell them, I'm here now. I won't trade you for love anymore. Healing is becoming the adult you needed. And be patient. Identity returns like colour after winter, not overnight, but faithfully. Some relationships can grow with this new version of you. Others may fall away. That is not failure, it is alignment. You are not rebuilding from nothing. You are remembering what was always there, beneath the layers of pleasing and fear. Mature love is not 2 halves clinging to survive. It is 2 whole people choosing to walk the same road. The poet Khalil Gibran wrote that the pillars of a temple stand apart, and only then can they hold the roof. Real connection works the same way. Close enough to touch, separate enough to grow. You do not have to shrink to be loved. You do not have to disappear to belong. If a relationship asks you to abandon your voice, it is not a home. It is a cage. And cages, no matter how beautifully decorated, slowly teach the heart to stop singing. The bravest thing you will ever do is remain yourself and love anyway. If this story felt like it was speaking your language, you are not alone. I'd love to hear what part of this journey you recognised. Leave a comment and share your experience. And if you want more conversations about the quiet, complicated side of the human heart, consider subscribing to the channel so we can keep walking this path together. You don't need to vanish to be loved. You deserve a love that meets you in the light. Thank you for watching.